Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Immigrant News. We are at the BIC Media Labs at the Business Innovation Center in Fall River, Massachusetts. My name is Elvis Santana and I am your host. I'm joined today by Amy Long, U.S. Attorney, U.S. Immigration Attorney, who's joining us here today. Thank you, Amy, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So here at the Immigrant News, we like to bring you as resources as possible, the immigrant community, things that are relevant, things that we can identify with, and topics of interest. So we're very happy to have Miss Amy Long here today, who's going to speak to us a little bit about what you do day to day as an immigration attorney.
Okay, very good. Well, I represent foreign nationals who are seeking to stay in the United States either temporarily or permanently. And one of the ways that someone can stay in the United States permanently is through a process that we all know as the green card process. Folks can get a green card either through a family-based relationship or through an employment-based relationship. So that makes up quite a bit of the work that I do. I also do employment-based immigration, where a U.S. employer is petitioning for a foreign national, and I do naturalizations. That makes up the bulk, and I've done some removal work. I've done some bond hearings.
So with the current political climate and all the things that we see going on, are any of these services more difficult than they were 5 years ago, less difficult?
There are challenges now under the Trump administration. However, for many of the administration's proposals, they've been struck down by federal courts across the nation. So what happens with the immigration bar is we become terrified and we warn our clients about something that's about to happen, and then at the last minute often a judge will strike it down. So it's just been tenuous and up and down.
Wow, how does all this up and down affect clients in the immigrant community? Are they less likely to seek services that they need because of the newsreel and what we see every day in the news?
That's a possibility, but it has caused us a moderate amount of fear, and what that has caused is an uptick in lawful permanent residents who are green card holders who wish to apply to become a U.S. citizen. So USCIS, which is a department within the Department of Homeland Security, has informed us that they are seeing an uptick of naturalization applications. Naturalization means that the foreign nationals, a lawful permanent resident, has applied to become a U.S. citizen. And once you're a U.S. citizen, you're no longer subject to the immigration laws.
I see. So I'm always curious about how these issues impact the community. Do they have a reason to be fearful when they hear these things in the news, when they see things about ICE raids and even American citizens who are, profiled and, taken into custody as potential target removal and things like that? Like, is that a real fear? Is that fear, let's say, warranted?
Yes, it is warranted because the immigration climate changes as the political climate changes. And that's the reality. Sometimes the agency will get more strict about certain things that they're looking for, and then 6 months later or a year later, they'll become a little bit more lenient about that issue. So there's a tide that goes up and down. I don't know about raids, if there's been more raids, but raids do happen. ICE chooses who they want to initiate enforcement actions against. So they have to have the resources to initiate those actions. They have to have an interest in doing so. So it's would probably be an employment situation. An employer, they might raid a large employer who they believe to be harboring or hiring and employing a large number of undocumented persons, or they might initiate a raid in the early morning hours at the home of an individual, a citizen who has a certain criminal history, or they're subject to reinstatement of removal, someone who ICE considers to be a priority for removal.
So sometimes things get intense, sometimes it's like an ebb and flow.
Yes,
okay.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Wow, okay. So what is now you've been doing this for a long time?
Yes, I've been doing this for 10 years.
10 years you've been practicing. You're practicing here in Massachusetts, Rhode Island as well, is that correct?
Yes, I have an office here in Fall River at the Business Innovation Center, and folks are welcome to visit my website, which is immigrationfallriver.com.
Immigrationfallriver.com. So in your history, so you've been an immigration attorney for a long time. What accomplishments are you proud of? What are the cases that you've most point to when you want to speak about your successes?
Okay, well, I have mostly successes, which maybe that speaks to me and maybe it speaks to a reasonable agency. But I've been successful with motions to terminate in a courtroom setting. I've been successful in tricky, complicated naturalization matters. I've had approvals on notices of intent to deny, which is the last stage that the government will put a case through if they are unsure whether or not to approve it. So those are some victories that I can look back on.
Wow, that's great stuff. So what are your motivations for choosing this line of work? How does someone decide, I want to dedicate myself to provide legal counsel and representation for undocumented persons in the U.S.? What motivated you to take that?
Well, I was always interested in helping underserved populations, so I've worked with a variety of populations. I've worked with women's issues, I've worked with LGBT issues. I had a former relationship who introduced me to immigration at one time as a born U.S. citizen. As someone who was born in the U.S. and therefore a U.S. citizen, I didn't know about immigration at one point. I didn't know what a green card was at one point. So I was introduced into the world of immigration, where I was also able to continue that desire to serve an underserved population.
We need more people like that in society, more people like Amy Long. So as the community is still out there acting and reacting to all of the forces that shift their needs legally and as far as their status in this country and their eligibility, what do you still see as needs in the community? What are you optimistic for? What do you wish we had more of?
Yeah, that's a great question. I do see some people who want to go about the process on their own, and that's challenging to do because you don't know what you're going to encounter when you get into the immigration court, and there's so many ins and outs. So people really should seek out immigration counsel. That's one issue that I see. Another issue is the ability for lawyers to offer affordable immigration services. Unfortunately, for many of us, this is how we earn our living, but if they could go, if folks can go to a nonprofit organization that has attorneys on staff who are able to offer those services, or some of the large law firms that are able to have a pro bono division within the law firm who can do intake, and maybe there's a wait list, maybe there isn't. So there are options for immigrants, but it can be expensive and a long, drawn-out process.
Are we making progress?
Well, I'm not entirely sure. I think the courts are backlogged, and there are still a lot of people going in who are unrepresented, and there needs to be policy changes. Part of it has to do with the Trump administration. They're trying to bring on more immigration judges, so hopefully the backlog one day will clear up.
Well, thank you very much, Amy, for letting us know what you do, how you can help. And it's so important to have someone passionate about what they do. I think any potential client that you may have in the future would appreciate that. So that's immigrationfallriver.com?
Yes.
And your phone number? You can share that.
My phone number is 508-644-1553, extension 5330.
Amy Long, thank you very much for joining us today. We hope that you enjoyed this segment. I hope that it was something that adds value to you. This information is important for anyone that you know that might need representation or direction in navigating the complex laws regarding immigration in this country, the changes that happen all the time. So thank you to Amy Long. Thank you for joining us. Please continue to follow our YouTube channel, our Facebook channel. We hope to see you next time. Thank you.